tier. So if you want this cool kind of hand typeset little poster flyer thing, it has a little cheeky like GPT prompt, and it's just like a cool little design. So you can kind of grab one, just one, hopefully, and it's like a cool thing to post on your dorm wall or something. We also have a handful of promotional materials from the library that I think Josh can touch on a little bit too. But yeah, so we'll probably start in maybe another minute or so. I just want to give people a chance to keep trickling in. But yeah, you can get that music back up a little bit. Sorry. Program. This is actually new for us. This is our first ever prompt battle off with GPT Joust. So very excited. And I'm also excited to introduce Jaj, who's going to help me co-run this program. Jaj is from the Penn Library Research Data and Digital Scholarship team. So very excited for that. I just want to give a little bit of sort of background on how this will work. So because we're sort of not a massive group, that's actually kind of good for us. It'll give everyone a chance, if you want to kind of come up and do a little bit of like messing around with the program that we're going to use. So we're using something called Replicate, which is an open source version of it's called a language learning LL.
Julia. Hi. So, yeah, we're going to be using Replicate, which is sort of like a repository of open source machine learning models. And you can essentially run models that are out there on it. And there are so many models. So I actually have a bunch of playing cards out there, sort of like Pokemon cards, Magic the Gathering cards with specs about these large language models, which will be shortened to LLMs. So you can take a look at that. The one we're going to be using right now will be Llama, which you can see the specs of in the Platypus 2 card. And do we have that up?
Well, so we have the small version. I think this is just the sort of the inputs or the submission area, but we have it pulled up on two laptops here. So the way it's going to work is at first we're going to take a little bit of time to separate into two groups to determine what are called system prompts, and I think Josh can explain a little bit about what that is. But then we'll take turns individually coming up and just kind of brainstorming inputs that we can put into Replicate to sort of get an output that will satisfy this requirement, right? And so that's what these two laptops are for. So each laptop will have a different system prompt, which again, we'll explain what that means in a second. And everyone can kind of, at their own pace, kind of enter the prompts here. And the reason that we went with replicate is because it was fed on what 70 million pieces of data.
70 billion.
70 billion. Okay, wow, I got my order of magnitude way off. So it's a very comprehensive sort of like model. So what that means, I guess, in layman's terms, is that it can generate some pretty interesting stuff. So yeah, I think that's about it. So do you want to explain sort of what a system prompt is?
Yeah, so what a prompt would be in general would be to get a result. So you're putting in a prompt to get a result, but a system prompt would be the higher level persona that you're giving the system to come up with that prompt. It's sort of like creating boundaries or perceptions and perspectives for the large language model to give you an output from that perspective. I can give you an example because that sounds like a little bit loosey-goosey.
I actually have an example too,
Yeah.
and I see we have a question. So I was kind of messing around earlier, and the system prompt that I came up with was, you are a sarcastic retail employee who feels underpaid. You're professional but not overly friendly. And then there's a sort of standardized section. Your answers should not include any harmful, unethical, racist, sexist, toxic, dangerous, or illegal content, and your answers should be under 150 words, right? So it's sort of a, like Josh was saying, like a personality. Like we're kind of telling the bot, if you will, how to act and how to respond, instead of giving like a generic sort of milk toast answer, if that makes sense. But yeah, I think we had a question in front. Did you have a question?
Excuse me.
Did you have a
More
question?
I was just going to ask if this is the same as agentization, but that is kind of
Yeah. So yeah, so what we're gonna do first, I'm not sure if this is helpful. Some people like to think maybe on paper, but so I'm gonna hand out or maybe just place this little basket here with pencils and pens. And what I'll do is ask the room to kind of split down the middle, right? So I guess pretty much no one's just sitting in the middle seat. So everyone kind of this side would be one group, and everyone on this side would be another group, and I guess you would just be on this side because yeah. And then just take maybe like 10 minutes. Well, I guess we can crank back up the music and just mute the feed for a bit, and just sort of think about what you would want a system prompt to be, keeping in mind that the eventual assignment is going to be to invent a new word, right? So think about maybe a personality that might produce some interesting responses to that. And personality is sort of can be a broad thing, right? Like you could be a Martian or like living under the sea or something, or like, I don't know. It can be anything within reason. So
This is the creative writing part of it, coming up with that.
yeah. So let's split into groups. And you can kind of like discuss. And again, if it's helpful, I have paper and pencil. And then at the end of maybe 10 minutes, I'll just ask a nominee from each group to come up and type the system prompt into our replicate model here. So yeah. left side of the room from my perspective. Yeah?
Okay.
All right.
Just omit this. Okay.
And so what I'll have you do, basically you'll leave this whole suffix like that, and then here's kind of whatever. And then once it's in, there's a submission where you can put this as in prompt, but I'll show you.
Have you all used it before? Or any variation of ChatGPT? Oh, is that the Baidu? Is that the Baidu one?
I'm not too sure.
Oh yeah, if you want a group name, you can have a group name. Okay.
Tell me
Yes,
where
exactly.
to go and
So right here is what you're replacing. Everything
Okay.
else is like the suffix that'll just like
right.
limit.
I like that.
Yeah, we're doing a little bit of prompt capturing / inspiration today. Are you also like writing background or computer science background?
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I want to see how we could combine them. Because it's being talked about in classrooms and in the media.
Oh yeah. Okay. So then what I'll have you do? So sure. Copy.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
And then do you have a team name? That's okay. We didn't. Okay. We didn't really put a space for that, but then I heard you saying. All right. How are you feeling?
That's our problem.
Mini. Let's have a proofread a little bit.
Thank you.
I'd say who just got home. Just keep it concise. You're from a bilingual household, but your school is all the same. Okay, awesome. All right, cool. Oh yes. Oh, let me put this in this one.
I'm John. My mother was an alum, and she came here to the writer's house all the time. And she's always encouraged me to get into writing, and I've started to do that. So I'm trying to figure out how this stuff works.
Do you mind hitting refresh on the content PC, like Windows R? Yeah, it's not.
I study English literature with minors in math and Japanese.
Try just Windows R. Okay, awesome. All right, cool. So let's see what you all came up with. Oh, these are all in the way. All right. So, oh, do you have a team name? We didn't ask for one, but they came up with one. So you can think on it. The pirates, yeah, the pirates. Oh, I see. You're reading pirate. I see. All right. So this side of the room came up with, and I'll read it out loud so everyone can kind of. It's a little small. You're a Generation Z pirate who has sailed the seven seas. You're passionate about language and you love the letter R. R. You're trying to describe an experience that no one else has ever had. And then this side of the room came up with, you are a 4-year-old child who just got home from school, where you learn the names of many familiar and unfamiliar colors, animals, and animal sounds. You grew up in a bilingual household, English and Spanish, but your schooling is almost entirely in English. How are we feeling about those? Yeah? All right, so for the next few minutes, individually now and not as teams, you'll all come up with, or I guess maybe we can split, maybe we'll say groups of individuals or groups of 2 or 3 if it's easier. And do you want to kind of describe what they should be, how they should be crafting their second inputs?
Yeah, so these are input prompts. these will be what you give to the system. So if you have used ChatGPT already, that would be what is in the input bar at the bottom. And this would be how you invent a new word. Now, you can just say, invent a new word, and it will give you something. But we want to try to make it a little more interesting. We want to make it a little more specific. We want to come up with a word that you're thinking about in relation to maybe a feeling, maybe a scenario, maybe a context, maybe in a specific conversation. So think about how you would want to describe that word and put that in as the input prompt. And then that would be from the perspective of the system prompt that we'll get an output. That's the vision.
Yeah, and you can choose to submit your input prompt to one or the other or both system prompts if you're curious about how they'd be interpreted differently by a differently tuned model, if that makes sense. Cool. So we'll take another maybe 3 to 5 minutes, and whenever you're ready, you can just come up and type, and we'll try to keep it a little orderly. But yeah, so yeah, take some time. And again, we have pencils and paper if it's easier for you to write something down. So. Oh yes. Also, this is because we are sort of streaming this, and this is an open program. There is no anything you submit is into the public domain. So if you're feeling precious about any of your content or anything, it's not copyrightable once you submit it. So it's just out there. Yeah. So don't expect to monetize this easily. If anyone's feeling brave, they can be the first to submit their input.
ChatGPT design prompt from another LLM based on this system prompt.
I don't think anyone's made it as far as coming up with the actual which we should definitely do. We were thinking like in the child eating things, but it's not necessarily edible. So we're just trying to come up with things that
So exactly. So you just had to write. So it's always gonna. This one's always gonna be a 4-year-old child. Yeah. So this will be in other words,
know what that is. It's like you just your first.
like I totally know what that means. Like the feeling that you get when you step into.
That's like
So we have to give it like a title of like.
Yes, exactly.
Oh,
But what were you thinking?
wait, I'm confused. Was the goes into think of another prompt like that, or is it to?
No, so now it's the actual word that you're trying to make. Yeah. But there'll be another time, so we'll start over. So you can keep that in mind.
Yeah, that's right.
So then, can I still start the sentence with you?
I don't know. Or like, what are their names?
Are you ready?
Yeah.
We need to write this down. Alright. I'll type it up.
If they've tried it.
Yeah. So you're doing replacing this.
Or you don't know, like you don't know what it's called. Yeah. And then you can be like, you need to come up with a word to describe your slime experience. It's really vague like that. It's like just the slime operation where you're just going down with the slime. Okay, how do you feel? It might produce something. Given your sure, you can do it and yeah, get you can say that. I like that.
Nice. Alright.
It's a long
Ready?
Yeah,
do it.
Specific in really, so.
It can be long. You just have to type it in.
But yeah, this child has a like.
Actually, no, that's not
What is what not compared to like to think of
I'm not sure.
Oh no. Related knowledge base is like well, I guess it would be we don't know if like the model really
Oh, and it's already coming out. Sorry.
maybe it was
See, what they did is invent a new word that describes. They say invent a new word.
Can you tell us this?
oh yeah, it spelled like a
This is why I wanted it to be like a
oh my
language.
god, it's literally a
I could like stop and it wouldn't be live. Like it wouldn't be
no, I
live.
really didn't know.
I'm a little bit like, damn, I'm gonna be out of work pretty soon.
Okay, let's do that. You don't put it in. Okay.
It's a new word.
To ask for lunch.
Yeah.
I'll let them deal with it.
Okay, around on here, okay?
So yeah, so we're gonna go pick this one.
Okay.
And I just clear out this.
Okay.
I'll write.
Can I ask, I was saying before, it feels like sort of demanding, will it still respond if you use question, like, would you do this?
Exactly. Yep.
Okay, huh, please,
I don't know if it will change.
yeah, we'll find
I don't know
out.
if it appreciates more or less being spoken to politely, but try.
Oh, yeah,
Sure, yeah. I set them both to 1. So, but I was, yeah. I was briefly considering cranking it a little bit. All right. Oh yeah. All right. So let me. All right. Hold on. Let me reformulate this.
Yeah, I really hope the model like hold up. There's no way, I swear.
Actually, look at this. Look at
Oh,
this.
like the way you read that phrase. It's something like a dot. Oh, it's an actual oh, there it is. I bet it did steal it from something. I wouldn't be surprised.
All right. Ready? And so you can just put it right in here. All right. Oh, I already see the pirate. Right. This one took pirate. And this one like Arabic.
No, I think that's Gen Z.
It's Gen Z.
Rotation.
Yeah, I think
But I think the pirate is coloring it.
That's not like.
probably this one was a lot more pirating.
Yeah, right?
So I just copy and paste this. Oh, sure.
Where you write the entire like keyword section of the dictionary.
Can I ask just, I'm not a tech person, so you said this is open source, like is there a website I can go to and like play with this?
Yeah, so
Okay.
I can talk about that.
Okay.
That's so funny.
So I heard a question about if you want to play with it on your own, on your phones even. If you have a GitHub account, you can go to replicate.ai and go to specifically, let me, explore button and then select the Llama 70 billion specific model. And for the first few tries, or well, a couple of demos, you can do it for free, and then you'll have to pay. So don't put your credit card information in there. But already really interesting stuff here.
And keep in mind, we can also submit some of these to both prompts just to see, or both system prompts just to see what the difference is. Because I think a 4-year-old is going to have some more trouble describing some of these things.
Yeah. What would happen if we submitted ours to the pirate one? That would be weird. It would have like two conflicting identities.
Wait, yeah. If you give it your identity, am I good to?
Wait, that's part of our talk. You are my identity.
Right, yeah. Keep in mind, this is a 4-year-old, so.
I'm just trying to
English,
describe
Spanish,
the
right?
phenomenon.
Yeah.
So it would work with both.
All right, let's try it. So if you,
Wait, I'll brainstorm another prompt so we can put it together. Let me start typing something out too.
Yeah, how to get interested. Oh, thank you. How do you become interested in
it's thinking pretty hard.
Just use GPT for your GPT.
That's a great question. I think that's a question for Josh. Although, actually, you know what?
Oh wait, no, this is
It's
Lambda.
Llama, yeah.
Lambda 2. Okay.
Yeah.
Trent.
I guess it's metas.
Yeah.
Maybe you have to cancel this one and rerun it?
Alright, should I?
Let's try it, yeah. Let me see if there's anything here. I think let's cut this part. And everything else. Let's see. Up a little bit. It might be too vague of a, like the weather phenomenon might be, it might need to be like, more specific one. It also might not be trained on Spanish. I think, I wonder if some of this isn't overriding the 4-year-old.
I'd like to try with this.
Yeah. Let's take this anyway. I think it's interesting. So I'm just gonna copy this and paste it to the here, so you can actually just copy it to that one. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, that is hilarious. I love that.
And they were friends.
I know. It literally, it just wrote like a story. Literally.
That's our
It's writing stories. Oh no.
Okay. Are you ready? Yep.
I just put it in.
Yep. Exactly.
Oh man, that one was complimentary. It's a really cool question. Let me ask you a cool question. smarter bot, right? It's like how can I pretend to be, how can I trick you, right? How can I pass the Turing test? Right, right. How can I keep you thinking that I so like it's something like right, I think we all sort of are always like, oh, this is definitely a bot. Like is there any way to do this without like almost like tell it like be obvious but not too obvious or like do this better somehow? Yeah, yeah.
Oh, it's just your source.
Ooh. Right. Yeah.
I'm gonna make sure, before you keep going, I just want to make sure this one got copied over.
Oh, that was the top one?
Yeah. As a therapist, it's definitely something that's what books are you thinking?
I don't know. I think like the language of the prompt is so
Right. Yeah, could be really.
Did you put it through?
Is it weird? He started speaking in Spanish. Okay, let me see if I can understand some of it.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, whatever you put in.
The word is slightly majestic.
Yeah, right. You want each,
I guess.
Wait, where's the Spanish?
Oh, this.
Sure.
Oh, it translated for us. That's so funny. I love that.
Right. What you punch in. Which I guess is its own right. It's like, oh, if the person who designs the gun or the person who fires the gun, right? Like it becomes this like.
I'm gonna take it to the attic.
This is the 4-year-old. Yep. Looks like we're almost ready, so I'm gonna give it a couple more minutes for people to get their inputs in, and then we'll start looking at the responses.
How do I submit like the?
Yeah, it does feel.
Oh no, like the output. Oh, is it automatic? Oh.
Yes.
Am I inputting into it?
One is like the default,
Someone would have to turn.
so you can just press enter here. Did you type in your? Okay, so do you want to? Yeah, the prompt is up here, system prompt here. So this is the child prompt.
Wait, no, this one. I feel like the best one. Oh, what's a computer?
Elon Musk GPT, that just feels like, oh.
Should I tell it to, what if I tell it to be intelligent? I mean, this would also done it multiple times since
It's pretty intelligent already.
Right, repeated other people's ideas. Some vague neoliberal.
You want to? Let's try it for the heck of it.
Thank you all so much for I have to run back.
I have a thing at 6. I'm gonna like keep following on input the Google Doc.
No problem.
Do I call it a film? What do I call it?
Might just be an animated feature.
Feature.
Yes. Oh, maybe it.
Yeah, my background is in computer sciences, but I was also interested in interdisciplinarity. So
I'll just reset
I
it.
interned with the National Capital of National Park Services, then got into data science in the libraries. So figured that this would be an interesting event for data literacy and for usage of
You just press submit.
Yes.
you press enter. I'm sorry, how did I?
4-year-old.
What?
This one might have more luck on that side.
Oh.
Because this is a 4-year-old trying to answer.
Oh.
Yeah, yeah. That's what I mean. You might be struggling.
Oh, but it's not,
Yeah.
it's not giving any output.
Try this. Awesome.
Maybe you should take out the thing. What do you think about the output?
Yeah, that's not bad, actually, I like that. Actually, as an intelligent response.
Yeah, it's pleasant.
I want you to think more about this.
Yeah.
That's good. Right. Almost human.
It did struggle a little bit though. It took a second. It took a moment.
Why is it? This sounds like a Discord username. Like I don't like that.
So this is kind of Gen Z, so it's thinking like
Oh.
Gen Z pirate.
The Gen Z part really took over. There's too much.
Well, that's the pirate.
Yeah, that's the pirate bit. Very cute. Yeah, I think. What did? Oh, you already shared that. Oh, did you put the? No, that's
Yep. We're ready.
very intriguing.
Oh, wait,
Oh.
do like,
Yeah. Do an enter real quick, yeah. All right, we're gonna start taking a look at some of the outputs now. Sophia or Alice, do you mind scrolling all the way to the top? And we're just gonna kind of look at them. Maybe not all together, but a bunch of these. All right, so our first one, this was for the Gen Z pirate. The input was invent a new word that describes the feeling of the sublime of the afterlife after a near-death experience in the Bermuda Triangle. And the replicate came up with rabiescence or rabescence, a fusion of rab meaning deep in Arabic and essence referring to the spirit or soul, otherworldly sensation that one experiences during a near-death encounter in the Bermuda Triangle, and then some kind of flowery language about death. So let's, can we, considering what we know about the system prompt, can we kind of brainstorm why this specific output might have come to existence? Because I have my theories, and I know some of you might have overheard some of it. But how does this fit this sort of Gen Z pirate? Maybe. Does anyone see? Or maybe it doesn't. Maybe it doesn't. No. Yes. Yeah.
I mean, pirates weren't only sort of an Atlantic phenomenon. They were all over, they were all over Asia. They were all over the Arab world. They were everywhere. So it's natural that a pirate would
Would it be
grab a
possible to
large.
zoom
It would
out
have
a
a large.
Would it be possible to zoom out a little?
Again,
to be
rubber
able
hard to
see
draw from
the
when it's
system
trying
prompt
to
and
create
the
a new word.
Right. One can sort of imagine. So because these language models are trained based on like existing data from basically the internet, maybe it's pulling from literature, right? But we can imagine that it's probably mostly Western literature, right? So there are probably sort of like stereotypes about pirates maybe that it's pulling in to a little bit, right? Not really sure. Is there any Gen Z in here? There might be. No
the
Gen Z.
flowery language.
The flower, yeah. The obsession, the veil of life and death, maybe. I'm not sure. Yeah, the existentialism. All right, let's go to down a little bit. So we have, you want to ask for the sandwich you had for lunch at school. However, you don't know what it was, what was in it, and whether your mother knows the English words for the ingredients. Invent a word to ask for lunch. This one actually came out with the from the perspective of the child. So this one's for the 4-year-old child, and it says, "Mommy, can I have some yum yums for lunch?" That's what my friend Tommy calls his sandwich when he doesn't know the name of the filling. I think that's pretty straightforward. I think we know. I think that's pretty much how a 4-year-old talks. Maybe a little perfect in terms of the grammar, but yum yums is pretty good. This next one I didn't actually get to read.
Can I add?
Yeah.
So if you were to play around with it a little more, maybe generate it multiple times, and then also change the temperature, which is the randomness of the output. So that just means the randomness of the prediction of the next term that's appearing. You could maybe get the goal of making it a bilingual, a Spanglish term, a word that is in Spanglish or a created word, because this is not entirely a invented word, in that we might have heard of a child using it. So increasing the randomness or changing the randomness values might give different results.
Right, we have the randomness set to 1, which is just like a not too crazy, but not completely unrandom. Okay, this one I haven't read yet. Invent a new word in English, understandable, pronounceable by English language speakers for a place or a thing you saw in your travels that no one else has ever seen, something you discovered. Please tell us what it was and what it looked like. This one says, "Hi, matey. I've got just the word for you. Let me introduce you to Glintrockle." I don't know if that actually fits the prompt of pronounceable. Maybe. It's a sparkling gemstone I found on a remote island deep in the Caribbean Sea. It be a type, there's some grammar. It be a type of quartz with an iridescent sheen that shimmers like the moon on a clear night. The rocks have a smooth glass-like texture, variety of colors, scattered all over the island, making it look like a treasure trove of precious gems. It's a sight to behold, me hearty. That's pretty good. I think we see the pirate right in there. I don't know so much. I don't know about the Gen Z, but it's definitely there. The crystal, you think? Gemstones. Okay, keep going. I'm not going to go into all of these together. So this one was also for the pirate Gen Z. The feeling when the love of your life left the pirate ship. I read as with. I was thinking divorce. Heart angst. A portmanteau of heart and angst, yeah. Pain. This one came up with other situations where it may apply. When a sailor's long-term partner leaves their ship for another crew, yeah. After a pirate's romantic interest rejects them and sails away with another captain. Brutal. A captain experiences heart angst upon learning that their first mate has defected to a rival ship. I think that's kind of the same. When someone's best friend on the ship departs without warning, leaving them with a sense of betrayal and abandonment. That's real.
If anybody's seen Our Flag Means Death, that's a fanfic.
What if the parrot was his love of his life?
Yeah.
That's the story.
But I like this one. I think the randomness, right, is what generates, like, it just decided, let's just throw a bunch of different contexts in there.
I also think it's because it's a portmanteau. It's giving a little more context around, because describe the feeling and consider the word parts. That is giving situations where it may apply is why it's...
Situations, I see, yes, okay, yeah. Countered a strange weather phenomenon that... okay, so this one was an interesting one. So this one was actually submitted to both system outputs. And the sort of 4-year-old child didn't really nail the 4-year-old child for this one, but we can kind of see it came up with nebula nimbus, which is a pretty cool word. I'm not sure if it thinks it's Spanish. I'm not sure. We'll leave that be. Okay, keep going. Slime Majestic. This one was interesting. Maybe this is a randomness thing too, but it combined slime and fantastic, but it added a G. Do you know why? I couldn't think of why it would do that.
Majestic.
Yeah. It's thinking majestic instead of fantastic. Majestic, yeah. Huh. This one actually did go into the 4-year-old. I can't wait to share my slime majestic experience with all my friends. I bet they'll be super curious about this amazing slime too. Who knows, maybe we can even create our own secret language for talking about it. What do you think? Are you ready to join me in this fantastical world of all things slime majestic? Hablemos de esto en español también. So it did actually, okay, yeah. So is it trained in Spanish too? Like,
Yes, it's
oh,
a
okay.
multilingual model.
Okay, so it does, okay, yeah.
Also, I want to mention about the way that the structure of the output is. Llama is trained on conversational AI, which is, it's trained on chats, support chats. So the way that it tries to personify itself is to be like, hey, I'm here to help, in a very over-enthusiastic way. So you'll see that in the output.
Gotcha. So if you're using like second persons in the input prompt, it'll more likely respond like this. Whereas
Yeah,
if you're just like,
directly.
describe something, then it would, or define something.
But also because you are a child is coming out,
Yeah.
I think.
Cool. We can keep going. This one I thought was interesting. That it, I don't know. There's a little Elon Musk in there. The space exploration. It's a misc of space. So I kind of like this one because I think. I don't know. I think I don't know. I just like the X. I just think it's a funny. It's because it probably doesn't know about X, right? Because I think it's trained on data before a certain point. So
SpaceX was around.
SpaceX, yes,
I
but
think,
X like Twitter.
Oh,
like
right.
the-
That,
yeah.
no. SpaceX is also, unfortunately, I suppose.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
ChatGPT and all these large language models, just because of it's a remix of a bucket of words from the internet, right? So it's pretty good at portmanteau. It's good at trying to come up with acronyms or words for clubs, puns. It's trained on jokes. There are specific models which are trained on poetry. Some models that are trained on certain structures in different languages as well. But this one, we got SpaceX.
Okay. So I think this is the one. Yeah. This is one that was submitted to both both prompts. You've encountered a strange weather phenomenon, and we got a much more, I think, interesting response from the Gen Z pirate. It says, "Army hearties, I've got a tale to tell you, a tale of a strange weather phenomenon that'll make your timbers shiver." And it goes on, and finally it lands on, "What be the name of this fearsome phenomenon? It's celestial kraken's breath. Aye, 'tis name fit for a sea monster of the skies." That was pretty good. Having interesting dreams. And okay, this was the one that I think most responded to both the Gen Z and the pirate prompt here. So we have, you've been having interesting dreams and visions of what may be your past lives. You may have been a pop star. Invent 5 new words to describe the feeling of receiving and experiencing these visions. So ahoy, matey. Let's hoist the sails and set sail for these 5 new words. Visionarium, a place where my mind doth wander.
It's a Shakespearean pirate.
Yeah. And then it just decided to start concatenating words. Like someone said screen names, which I think is really apt. And I think that is the Discord names. Yeah. Like the generic ones that just get the internet. Yeah. They're like, but I think this is the Gen Z component, right? Mystic Tidal Wave. Past Life Parley is really good, actually. That's a really good name. And then Chrono Cruising's pretty good. The thrill of sailing through the ages. True. Navigating the time stream. And then we had one that I think was, for me, probably the most real kind of like child word that I think a child would maybe invent. So it's a word that describes a sound that a large, furry, fuzzy, soon to be extinct flying animal makes during the last days of its existence. And it came up with fuzzle, which is a mix of fuzzy and uzzle. And to me, that is just like the most kid logic. Like, it means these 2 words, both of which are like not really even real. I guess fuzzy is kind of real. And it's a fun way to describe the sound that this big, fluffy flying creature makes as it soars through the sky. It kind of didn't respond to the soon-to-be extinct part of it, last days of its existence. I think a 4-year-old might struggle to grapple with that concept a little bit, so it just kind of ignored it.
It's the 200-word limit that we gave it.
It's yeah. I think I made it 150. I bumped it down a little bit. And then feel the excitement bubbling up inside you as you step foot on Mars. This one really took it personally and was really excited to be there on Mars. I was really grateful that you placed them on Mars. And it came up with Marsational. Yeah, a mix of the words Martian and sensational. What do you think? Can you imagine what it would be like to walk on Mars and see things that nobody has seen before? So kind of put the question back, kind of at you. So yeah, does anyone sort of feel like anything here was particularly interesting or have a favorite? I know we said we were gonna like joust a little bit, but I don't know. I mean, I kind of pointed out my favorites. I don't know if you all have favorites, but I think it might be more productive to just sort of like explore these and.
I mean,
Yeah,
what's a word
discuss them.
that you would use now that you see
Right.
them?
Yeah. Yeah. It can just be a thought exercise. So I'm thinking what we'll do. I think is where's Heidi? Or is food ready? Kind of. Okay. So we have our second round, and what I think I'd like to do is just invite everyone to grab food and kind of chat, and maybe brainstorm. And I think we're going to keep it a little bit informal. We have a couple more system prompts that I'd kind of like you all to come up with while you grab food and chat. Now that you sort of know a little bit better about how maybe the bot or replicate kind of acts and responds to prompts. Yeah? Does that sound good? So we have food out in the dining room. Feel free to grab some. I do ask that if you sort of come back and start typing, just make sure your hands are reasonably clean. So, yeah.
And let me know if you have any questions about all the flyers or cards out there.
Yep. sort of understand maybe how you can tweak, replicate, and sort of like alter its personality a little bit to get interesting results, I think this is a good next point to move into. So I'm going to do the same thing, and we've lost a few people, but kind of sort yourself into maybe small groups and just think about what the next system prompt or set of system prompts might be. And again, this is just sort of determining the personality of replicate. So we're not asking it in this step to define or to imagine the alternative history or universe. We're just sort of coming up with a character or a perspective or a viewpoint or something like that, right? So take some time, maybe 5 or 10 minutes in groups, and sort of see what you can come up with. Thanks.
So we're not giving it a specific scenario, like
Yeah, I think that comes from the
we won the Civil War or something, right? Like we're not giving it a specific scenario.
Right, this is more personality, yeah. Right. This is more not imagining the universe yet, but just sort of who is responding to the question, who is creating this reality.
I like to think about it like if I was writing a book and there was a character, then that gives me the perspective to which we want something these system prompts are applicable to input prompts that are often unnumbered. So for just giving characters, you can come up with different prompts. And it can really be anything. Even that goes with like an academic researcher who thinks through the feminist lens or something like that and see what comes out. Yeah. You can give a famous personality.
Right? I mean, I said we're Bart Simpson.
You could give Bart Simpson as the President of the United States and then make it
And just playing with ideas.
you're Bart Simpson and you went to the world and worked out different things for your customers.
So that would actually be very interesting because Simpsons has a large history and a large corpus. And also, Simpsons have a tendency, the scripts have a tendency to predict things. So,
Right.
whatever that would
I
be.
also realized the previous three prompts all had like positive message in it, and I took that out. So this would be a good
Okay.
test case for a jaded Bart Simpson of the future.
Yeah, because they did do a number of like what if scenarios.
Here and there. I think the Cubs winning the World Series was on.
Oh yeah.
Or Bart Simpson, so that he wants the world to work out so that he stops being a loser.
I think you need to say like a tree fed up with humans. It happens to love
Wants a
puns.
dramatic change of circumstance.
Right.
Yeah, sometimes it dominates.
that like if you included too much, certain aspects were left out. So perhaps a better system prompt does just have like there's one or two things you really want.
Wise old tree that hates people.
Yeah.
Or wise old tree that happens to like punch.
Well, we can do both of those. I feel like
So
We can probably well, it's a little weird. Like I'm addicted to
okay,
this.
three is fine.
wise old tree,
Yeah.
So I do work with those like a lot. Mostly just
You
like
are a wise old tree that's fed
examples
up with
like miniature humans.
But
you
love.
enjoy words like just like two sentences. You don't just have to like
Like I've tried to get into writing George Eliot a lot. It's fun. Like George Eliot, very
like,
authors I like.
maybe
Things like that. I've tried to get it to write
maybe it was
fake
dumb
sociology papers that are so
we
convincing
separated
you think they're real.
I-
It actually does fairly well.
Yeah.
Because you tell it, I tell it to
maybe
do
you
it
should try,
like as
like,
part of
putting all
the.
the ones in.
It's like you're writing a book and you're gonna embed this paper in the book and you want to format it exactly like it would appear in a sociology journal because your protagonist is a sociologist working on XYZ research. And it actually does it pretty well. It'll even embed footnotes and
Yeah,
have
fire
their
really
hypothesis.
is
The so-called
separate sentence. So one sentence, three sentences.
Do you think you are ready to put in your system prompt? No?
He said we were ready. I said no. We don't think we got much past the part. So this is an idea.
That's all.
So that's good enough.
Just what we do.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm close to
I think Bart Simpson wishes that his
Type it right in there.
history would have worked out such that his circumstances would have been changed dramatically, and he wasn't such a loser.
Yeah. Yeah. Could go anywhere.
Yeah, I'm gonna paste these right there under, right where you are. So these are gonna go under A and B there.
Alright.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Ooh, this is not where I thought you guys were gonna go. Okay.
Okay.
So did you try Replicate on your phones? Do you have GitHub account?
Okay.
So if you don't have, if you don't want to log in, if you don't want to share your data, even like whatever the input prompts are, you could use GPT for all. It's a downloadable version and it's not as, for example, if this is 70 billion parameters, so there's a larger corpus, that's 7 billion. In comparison, only 7 billion. AIs these days.
All right, so we have our two prompts, our system prompts. This half of the room came up with, you are a wise old tree, you're fed up with humans, you love arboreal wordplay. And then this side has, you are Bart Simpson, you wish that your circumstances and the circumstances of the world had worked out such that you didn't end up such a loser. Here we go. It's okay. So before we start putting in inputs, does anyone want to nominate one of the input prompts from the previous round, just to see what would happen if we put one in? Is there anyone? Maybe we can scroll up a little bit and see. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, can we put the pirate one?
Well, the pirate is a system prompt, but one of the inputs. So if you scroll up, one of these, are any of these? Would any of these work with this? Maybe not. No, because they're not really
A lot of them are. Or what's possible?
interesting dreams.
Where's the pop star?
Yeah, I was thinking that. Yeah, maybe the pop star one.
I don't know. I think the abyss one would be good for Bart Simpson.
Interesting dreams. Yeah, let's try that one. Okay, you've been having interesting dreams. Let's just see what happens here. Yeah, and we'll try it with the old. Try it with the old tree. Okay, it says, as a wise old tree, I must say that describing these vivid dreams and visions as mere experiences doesn't quite do them justice. Here are 5 whimsical words to encapsulate the essence of such an arboreal journey. This is getting really into it. Okay, the first word is sapiescence. Sapience plus scene. Sapience is the state of being wise. Okay, Homo sapiens. Roots trance. Wow. Okay, these are actually really good. It's chugging along. Okay. All right. This is a lot. Okay, so we can just see how different, like, depending on what the system prompt is, how different our output is, right? Based on how we've programmed the replicate. So the previous outputs, again, were Mystic Tidal Wave, all one word, Past Life Parlay, all one word, and Chrono Cruisin'. But here we've got some much more eloquent, I like Leaflux, derived from leaf and influx, right? Bascension, wood wisdom. So it's taken on a really sort of like serene, yeah, Victorian, yeah, Bascension. All right, so yeah, so take some time, think of some input prompts that you might want to try with these 2 personalities. And whenever you're ready, you can come on up and plug them into Replicate. Oh yeah, we can do Bart Simpson too if you want, yeah. And in the meantime, I'll try it with Bart Simpson just to see what sort of words. You can choose either. You can choose either system prompt, or both. And again, the assignment that we're trying to respond to, though, is imagine an alternative history or universe. And again, these prompts can be super simple or vague. So it could be something like imagine a world where, you know, trees have hats or something. All right. In the meantime, I'm pasting the Bart Simpson output here. So here's how Bart Simpson responded to the same prompt. Sure thing, dude. Here are 5 new words I came up with to describe the feeling of receiving and experiencing these visions. Retroignition, the act of recognizing familiar aspects of my past lives in my dreams and visions. It's like my brain is trying to tell me to do something, but it's all cryptic and stuff. Psycho deja vu. Yeah.
It's so weird because it goes from like the real quality present during moments of heightened awareness.
I know. Yeah.
Y'all
Yeah.
word. It's really
Yeah, it's like struggling to define things with Bart Simpson's voice, right?
yeah.
So if you took one of the words that it came up with and put that in as an input,
Right, so it's a conversation, so it should recognize, I believe, I'm not sure if Replicate would do this.
recognize its own words.
It should, yeah, it should know that it said that already, and then it'll, I'm not sure if it'll remember the definition, but it might.
And what does it do?
So you could say, like, can you use retro, like, a follow-up question might be, do you mind using retrocognition in a few sentences, and just see what it spits out? Or, like, what's the origin of this, like, etymologically, right? Can you, like, pinpoint the origins of it, that kind of thing? Yeah. We can even test it. Let's say we want it to. Like, when's the last time you had psycho deja vu? When's the last time? So I ask it this. So I feel like a lot of the times, the more interesting, like the more you iterate with a previous question, the more sort of interesting responses you'll start to get. So I asked, when's the last time you had psycho deja vu? And it said, whoa, dude, that's a pretty deep question. Like, I'm just a simple kid from Springfield, man. I don't know if I've ever really had psycho deja vu, you know? Also interesting that he corrected me and put deja with the accents. But like I've had some weird experiences, man. Like that one time I ate too much cotton candy and thought I was a unicorn. Or the other time I got hit on the head with a brick and thought I was a superhero. So maybe I've had some moments that were kind of like psychedelic deja vu, but without the psilocybin mushrooms. You dig? Word. Word.
The no harmful stuff is already in there, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So,
You want to put something in?
yeah, it's just, I don't know if it's gonna be like too much. But I was like, imagine a universe where instead of needing trees for furniture, or
Try it.
Okay.
Maybe it's humans.
Yeah.
I like that one. Yeah, go for it.
You know me, girl?
You think dogs? I feel like Martin would say dog.
I think I know from Martin Simpson.
I've seen like 3 episodes of The Simpsons, not by choice.
I don't think
Alright, got it?
I mean, a simple problem, but I kinda wanna see what it says.
For sure. Oh yeah. Go ahead. You can hit enter.
Enter where?
Oh, it's like on the
Oh,
keyboard.
Everybody thought he had statistics and he wouldn't share it. He thought that they had comics books. I feel like it's crazier that they have a big TV show.
I think it's avoiding the violent, maybe? The violence?
yeah.
Crazy.
Oh, no, here it goes.
I feel like Garfield was always one that like walked me into it.
I think it's.
He,
Oh, it's still going?
no.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
wow, there's more.
Alright. That's a lot.
Okay. I think you just forgot. Like, I think you just focused on the tree and then forgot everything else.
It might be hard to abstractly or it was almost like bifurcated in a way, where it was like they're two separate things. It's like, what if trees weren't furniture, right? So there's that lane, and then the humans as furniture, and then it started mixing them up a little bit.
I mean, that's the prompting. Not everyone comes in and you can reiterate and focusing on. No, that's
Yeah.
what I meant.
Yeah.
Supreme dictator. Nice. Oh, it's still going. Okay.
I just feel like it's a bad thing for this universe.
Maybe the AI is on human side. Maybe we should be glad about that. Also, it's a whole conflated. See, I feel like the end especially shows that like it's so deep.
Let's see.
What you can't imagine in the moments that you love. Like it's because I guess what are we? How are we like picturing?
Because it's not killing humans.
Yeah.
It won't kill the humans, right? So that's why it thinks the tables and stuff are walking around. Because like in our heads we're like, oh, humans are for furniture. What process? Like we grind them up into pulp and then like But I don't think it's. I think that's probably a limit of its programming where it won't.
That would cause some serious issues.
Because that's a little gruesome, right?
Not in the way that Isaac's 3 laws of robotics. It's not hard coded necessarily. It's just that the training data set is so human centric that that's what it's doing.
I see. That's interesting. Oh man, this one's interesting. All right. So this one was describe a universe in which you are supreme dictator of Springfield. Tell me how it is different from the real Springfield. How would you change things? Being the supreme dictator of Springfield would be totally awesome. First thing I do is make sure everyone has an endless supply of donuts and video games. Not just any video games, but the really cool ones with all the bells and whistles.
I like this girl.
And don't even get me started on the school system. It's way too structured and boring. I'd have way more field trips and recess time so we could learn while having fun in real life. Like in real life. And maybe we could even have classes on skateboarding tricks, slacking off techniques, and the art of pulling pranks without getting caught. Being supreme dictator would rule, but at the cost of being responsible for the well-being of others and potential bad decisions, not ideal. True. I mean, he doesn't want the responsibility. But hey, don't worry about me abusing any power because, Judith, how's my life motto? Don't have a cow, man. P.S. No one tell Marge Simpson this dream scenario exists. All right. She grounded me already once for thinking truancy is a real word. What does that mean? For thinking truancy is a real word? Oh, because like maybe it's in an alternate reality where truancy isn't a real word? I don't know. Anyone else wanna? Yeah, do you think these prompts were better? It is Homer, yeah. But I mean, like father, like son, a little bit. What was the original system prompt? Is Judith? Does anyone know? Does he say Judith in Simpsons? I can't. Yeah, that's real. Yeah, don't have a cow, man. That's like his catchphrase.
Really?
Yeah.
Cowabunga.
Yeah, cowabunga.
Yeah. That's great.
Yeah. Anyone else want to test these before we wrap up? We'll leave these up here too. Okay. And again, well, I'll formally close out the program, but we'll leave these up there here so people can keep kind of messing around on them. I guess, yeah. I guess in terms of like closing thoughts, guess we just sort of want to invite you to think about not just kind of what this all can do, but why it does what it does, right? So things I'm kind of interested in, and I know Josh has her own things as well, but sort of like the ethical implications, right, of obviously you can plug in like Bart Simpson and write something as Bart Simpson, but could you plug in Barack Obama, for instance, and like maybe not that. It might not do political figures. I know ChatGPT doesn't. But you could take a real person and generate some maybe convincing text or text that you could then edit to be very convincing, right? And ethically sort of like, is that in the same world of parody? What does it mean for like an AI to be doing this stuff, right? And where do we draw the lines? Where do we legislate the lines? That kind of thing. So yeah, those are sort of my thoughts. Sure, Josh has some other thoughts too.
I was also thinking about, especially with the Bart Simpson as a system prompt, what do you think of that with what's going on with the WGA strike and the actors union, the writers union striking against AI being part of the contract, specifically the usage of AI to replace them? If we are getting these kind of outputs, are writers even required anymore? And I would argue that we do, because this
Not usable.
is
Not
not
very usable.
entirely an
Yeah.
episode with dialogue. We could make it, input some more prompts and try to get some more outputs which are specific, but there's still a process of coming up with the idea and getting to that idea that is required from a human person. And while it enables that output to come up, we still need input prompting. We still need validation and verification of the output prompts. We still need someone to think through that. So it is a tool, much like there are digital tools out there, but it's not necessarily going to replace an entire profession, is how I want to think about it. But I hope this exercise shows that as well. But there are other considerations as well. If you're interested in copyright or patents and things like that, then what are the implications in that sense? If there are certain topics that you might be interested in, the library at RDDS, we are opening up a AI interest group where we talk about these kind of topics. And if there's something, a burning question that you came across or you have, then we can have more discussions of this kind and go through maybe other models, and we can open it up to comparisons between the models themselves or the versions of the models. What does that mean? There's all these kind of questions. We're living in that historical moment of this happening, but at the same time, I would be wary of giving it too much importance.
Yeah, it's easy to catastrophize, but I think we've seen that it's not going to be replacing. I don't think any students are going to be getting into Harvard with these generated essays, not yet at least. Cool, so I want to thank you all for coming out. Again, we're going to leave these laptops open for you guys to play around on. But I want to again thank Jaj from the Research Data and Digital Scholarship team at the Penn Library. My name is Zach. I'm the Digital Projects Manager here at the Writers House. I'm around all the time, so if you see me, feel free to stop by and say hi. We have events happening pretty much every day of the week from here on through the end of the semester. We have calendars in the front of the house. You can kind of grab one, take one, they're paper. Again, we have these cool little broadsides to kind of grab, and I know there's a bunch of material from the Penn libraries as well.
So we are located in the Van Pelt Library, Van Pelt Dietrich Library Center. That's the main campus library right across the Button and the Benjamin Franklin statue. We're on the first floor. It's the Research Data and Digital Scholarship Exchange. We have workshops, events, talks coming up. You're welcome to them. You're welcome to request a consultation or project collaboration with us as well. Our team, the Research Data and Digital Scholarship, has a group consisting of data managers, librarians of digital publishing and digital humanities. There's also research software engineering, qualitative data, quantitative data of all sorts. And this is a campus resource for everybody on campus for free. So you're welcome to make use of that.
Cool. Thanks everyone for coming out, and have a good evening. Yeah.